So I got a couple poems. This first one's pretty short, but it's for anybody who's been asked, like, where are you from? No, where are you really from? Very short. It's called Sunflower. The first time somebody asked me what I was 7 years old. The two of us waded in a McDonald's ball pit in a pool full of colors with easy names like blue and green, and you're black, right? If I could go back, I would tell him, in the summer, my face is cooked husk and adobe. In the winter, my face is ground corn and turmeric. But I did not know what I was then either. So y'all probably been seeing the billboards around your community, the stuff on the soda tax, right? Vote yes on E, vote yes on D if you're in Berkeley like me. It's the poem kind of from that. My grandpa flashes a gold tooth when he smiles, like I dare you to take something from between my lips. His tooth shines from the light of the TV screen when my family watches Telemundo during dinner time. While I practice my Spanish, Grandpa unhinges the English from his throat, at least for a little while. This is how we both learned to be Panamanian American, through television and food. He tells us of our ancestors, how they raised maize and yucca from the earth, hands steeped in indigenous soil. How as warriors, we drank cocoa and water bitter from the gourd, a medicine sacred to the gods. Between growing up in Colon, Panama, and a tour in the U.S. Army, Grandpa is a proud old soldier marching through a never-ending war. At 66, we are scared that another stroke could do what no war ever could and cut him to the ground. He drinks. Like Aunt Maritza didn't lose both her legs to diabetes last year. Like half our neighborhood doesn't look like the emergency ward of a hospital, like he hasn't seen the pictures. How it is impossible to tell the difference between a roadside bomb victim and someone who just forgot to take their insulin. Grandpa keeps at least 2 12-packs of soda in the fridge at all times. I'm talking Sunny Delight, Tampico, High C, a jug of Kool-Aid in the back. Dr. Pepper lines a refrigerator door like a vest of dynamite, an arsenal of ways for us to self-destruct. It is how you learn to drink, growing up in a country where soda is cheaper than clean water, where hunger is a canal carved deep into your belly, where the only options for work are the docks and the army because your country is as occupied by Coca-Cola as it is by the U.S. military, when you must march to the call of whatever feeds family first. You drink whatever fits conveniently in your hands. I understand, Grandpa. But don't you know we are still at war with a country that wants us dead? How us children of Panama and America learn early to walk softly and carry a big stick, like U.S. assault rifle in one hand, Coca-Cola bottle in the other. Our country wasn't enough. They're colonizing our bodies, our taste buds. It isn't a coincidence that the military and beverage companies call us their target audience. Our black and brown bodies marching to the center of their crosshairs at home. A Coca-Cola commercial followed by a U.S. Army commercial flickers across my grandfather's tooth, and they both shine like the discharge of a gun. I learned to drink like Grandpa, like Colon, Panama, like $14 billion spent on soft drink advertising last year. The threat of diabetes is as common in my family as hard work, obedience, discipline. It is as common as Coca-Cola in our refrigerator, and we drink until the glass is empty because we ain't never learned to pull maize from the soil, but we did learn to pull the tab from a Coke can. Don't it sound like the linchpin of a grenade? Both explode under pressure. Ain't we just time bombs then? We march until they cut the legs out from under us. Ain't we perfect soldiers? So I got one more piece for y'all. Is it cool if I share it with you? All right. Cool. It's called Canal. The Panama Canal is one of the 7 modern wonders of the world. In 1914, it was the fastest path between 2 oceans. In 1965, my mother was born in Panama. Her first language was Spanish, but when she moved to America, she left her language scattered between two oceans. I have been looking for the pieces ever since. Growing up, I never learned to speak Spanish, but it was always around me, buzzing from my grandparents' throats like the static of an untuned radio. In 1990, I was born landlocked in Kansas, deep in a country where melting pots boil the ocean out of you. But there were always people like my grandparents that wore their culture like orchids hanging between their hearts and their work clothes. Some mornings they stashed it under stovetops. You could smell it when they cooked arroz con pollo y plátanos or when they spoke. Because if it was anywhere, it was dancing on the tips of their tongues like the words to their favorite song. When they spoke, their accent sounded like waves crashing against the shoreline, the combinación of two worlds. But there is a special condemnation that hides in the eyes of native Spanish speakers when they discover I don't speak Spanish. We both apologize. Sometimes we continue our conversation in English, but too often we go our separate ways, left empty by an uncommon language that sits between us like an ocean. I know when I say no hablo español, it really means I'm sorry if this reminded you of home, but I am just as lost as you are. So this summer, I finally took a Spanish class. Every morning for 2 hours, I got to know myself better in an orchestra of incorrect pronunciations and bad grammar, a classroom of untuned Spanish guitars. Here, in this clatter of vocal cords and plywood chests, I learned to say my name again. Me llamo Gabriel. And when those words left my throat, I became two people. We faced each other across an ocean 2 generations wide, and I finally heard myself in the echo of this language. At that moment, I wanted nothing more than to master this alchemy. But my mouth is tissue box and yarn, an instrument of spare parts, a junkyard of borrowed signs salvaged from the only language I have ever known. English was my Adam naming every animal in my Eden, and I wonder if I will ever think in Spanish, if I will ever be rocked to sleep and dream in my native tongue, if I will ever know the world like my grandparents. When learning a second language, they say you will never know it like a native speaker, that you will only speak in translations, but there were times during my great-grandmother's Alzheimer's when she couldn't remember her own children's names. But she never forgot how to say come más, hijo. Eat more, I will feed you, the language of mothers. I know better than to think there aren't things we never forget, that there isn't a history branded on our bones, an ocean swimming inside of us. So I'll pick up these Spanish textbooks and study their maps until they show me a path to the sea. There is a place here where two worlds are slowly drifting towards each other. This is the closest I have ever come to Panama, and I can taste it between my teeth.